I want to talk about this old Timex AC powered wall clock that I have here. This thing is probably about 50 years old. I bought it in 1982 at a flea market, and it was already secondhand when I bought it, so that was 40 years ago, and it had to be at least 10 years old. So this is probably about a 50-year-old clock, and I think I paid $2 for it. And what I needed it for was a clock in the garage, and I needed an AC powered garage clock because the garage gets cold, and battery operated clocks, they just don't work well in the cold weather. So anyways, back when this was made, probably in the late 60s or early 70s, these kind of clocks were real common, and this was basically just sold in any old store as to be used as like a wall clock in your kitchen or something like that. Just a household wall clock, and it's a Timex clock. And I've already partially disassembled it, and as a matter of fact, I've almost completely disassembled it. And the reason why is because it's giving me trouble. So, anyways, you can see it made in USA and Timex, and real reasonably priced national brand and everything like that. And so anyways, this thing served me well until just recently it started getting noisy, and so I decided to take it apart and see what's going on with it. So anyway, here's the face, and it's got a very simple movement in it. It's absolutely nothing special. This movement is just a series of open gears. They're not sealed in anything, and you got your knob here that sets the time and everything. And yeah, it's got a second hand and everything, and it kept good time too for such a simple, cheap device. So anyways, I'll get the face out of the way here, and it's got a little motor inside of it. And we look at the back of it here, and it's Timex model 2203, 2.5 watts. That comes out to about 20 milliamps. It hardly draws anything at all. This is not a quartz movement or anything. It's just got a very simple motor here. There's your AC mains comes in right there, and there's a coil around this laminated core, and the two halves of this laminated core are just holding this little motor captive here, and there's no electrical connection. It's all inductively coupled, and there must be a gear reduction inside of here, and this is the motor that drives it. And this thing is sealed. This is epoxy, so this is completely sealed in there. And well, anyways, it started running slow on me, and the reason why is because you listen to it here. So that little motor in there, it's just gotten noisy, and so there's probably nothing I can do to save it. But it ran for 50 years, and the thing is, I like this little clock because it's AC powered. I'm going to turn this off here. And the thing is, I looked at some AC powered clocks to replace it with, and first of all, all the AC powered clocks that you can find, they are very large, like a 14-inch diameter face, and they're used for industrial applications where they have to be mounted high on the wall, where you can't reach them without a ladder, and so that's why they want to have them plug in AC, so you don't have to change batteries on them. And they and then if you want, I don't want a large clock. My garage isn't big. I don't have a lot of space on the wall. This thing is only about maybe 7 or 8 inches square, and this was just fine. And you could buy clocks like this back in the day all day long, but they don't make them like this anymore. And and this doesn't even have like a quartz movement or anything. And it was reasonably accurate. It kept good time until the motor finally started grinding. And I mean, you know, just for comparison, I have a cheap coffee maker, and it has a digital clock in it. And you would think by now that you know, with quartz digital clocks, they keep reasonably good time. And this is just a cheap no-name coffee maker, but the clock in that thing, it runs fast, and it gains about a half an hour in about, you know, 2 months. It's ridiculous. I have to keep resetting it, and you know, so this is what you get now for you know, in the digital age. And you know, this crummy old AC powered motor driven thing, it actually kept good time. And then so I'm looking to replace it with another AC powered clock, because it's in a garage where it's going to get cold, and I don't want the problems that you're going to get with a battery powered clock. Well, when I look online, all you can get is these very large things that are 14-inch face. And then the problem is too, they're manufactured by these, it's kind of like a charity operation where, you know, they have handicapped people, and they're blind. It says, when you read about it, they're basically assembled by blind people, you know, and that's really great. Give people, you know, a chance, people who are handicapped, a chance to, you know, be a part of the workforce and everything. But when you read the reviews on these clocks, there's people that tell you it's hit or miss as far as getting one that works. That, you know, they say, you know, some people say, yeah, I got one and it works, and other people say, oh yeah, it's nothing but trouble, and the thing's a piece of junk and it doesn't work, doesn't keep good time and everything. And you know, at least you could buy these old Timex clocks like back in the 60s and 70s, and you know, for reasonable money. They didn't have to be manufactured by blind people. They were made in USA too. And this thing says made in USA in a couple of places. And you know, and the thing just worked. You plug it in and it keeps good time. And it's not even a quartz movement. It's not, you got nothing digital or high tech. It's very simple, low tech. So anyways, yeah, I guess that's enough of a rant about that. But what I was thinking about doing is seeing if I could dig this epoxy out of here, and just to see what's inside that motor and what makes it work. And who knows, maybe it's just noisy because the lube in there, I'm sure they had a dab of grease in there or something. Maybe it dried out or something. Maybe it could just be re-lubed. But it's hermetically sealed, and this is hard epoxy here. And you know, if I were to maybe you know, melt that with a soldering iron and dig it open or whatever and get it out without damaging it, get it apart and look at it and see what happens. So anyway, that's my little rant about my I like this clock. I was attached to it, and I realized some years ago it can't be replaced, not with one like this. If you want an AC powered small wall clock, and one that it's actually, you know, manufactured where you know, they're all going to work when you buy one. You don't have to worry. And you know, yeah, I don't think anybody makes them like this anymore, so that's a shame. All right, thanks a lot. Okay, another little video on the progress of trying to disassemble and repair my little clock here. I did manage to get the motor assembly out of its housing without destroying it, and it wasn't easy. But with patience, I worked it out of there. So anyways, it was definitely lubricated inside, and I'll show you the mechanism, but it looks like the lubricating oil, I have to clean this out. This is how I found it, and looks like the lubricating oil might have, you know, just gummed up in there, kind of varnished up over 5 decades of service. And so anyway, here's the gotta pick this up carefully. This is the little motor assembly, and it's got a whole bunch of little gears in there. So there's a reduction set in there, and this you know, this little shaft, those 2 little widgets on the outside, that's where that's the input shaft, and it spins at a fairly high RPM, and it's turned. I'm not, you know, I don't know what those are made of, or whether they're magnetic, or but they turn by induction. I haven't checked them to see if they're magnetic or not, but what I did with this thing was I cleaned it out with some solvent spray, and I re-lubricated it with Hoppy's gun oil, and it seems to be running smoothly now. So I think that's really all it needed. I'm trying to get some better light here. I think that's all it really needed. It's been lubed now. I lubed it. I let the excess just kind of run out of there. It's all been completely cleaned out with solvent and re-lubed with some Hoppy's number 9 light clear gun oil, and it spins easy. I take some compressed air in a can, and you can blow it edgewise on those 2 little wheels out there, and they spin. They'll spin nice and fast and smooth, and it seems to be running smooth and not making any noise. So I'm going to get the housing cleaned up and prepared, and put it back in there and see how it goes. I was looking at this thing. It has some markings on the outside, and it says Telecron of USA, so that's who makes this little clock motor, and it has some more specifications on the other side, and you probably can't read it, but one of the things it says is 3.6 RPMs, and so I guess what they're referring to is the output shaft. This output gear here is designed to spin at 3.6 RPM, and this little input shaft here, it's powered inductively through that aluminum housing, and it spins fairly quick. Don't know how fast, but I'm gonna put it together, see if I can get it to work. Stay tuned. Thanks a lot. Okay, another video here on my vintage AC powered wall clock repair. Cleaned up the motor and set it back in its housing there, and it's been lubed and cleaned, lubed, and put back together just tentatively here, just to see how it runs. And as you can see, it's running pretty fine. And if you listen closely here, it's not making the noise like it used to. It sounds very quiet. I'll bet you it'll run just fine if I can get this thing all put back together. I'll bet you my clock will be up and running. My favorite little 50-year-old little cheapo AC powered wall clock. So stay tuned. Thanks. So here's my good old Timex AC powered wall clock. It's been repaired and it's back in service now. It's running smooth and quiet. No longer making the grinding noises. I took apart the hermetically sealed motor and cleaned its movement out, and then re-lubricated it with some good quality Hoppy's number 9 gun oil, and put it back together and resealed it up with some epoxy and put the clock back together. And I put it back in service about 3 o'clock this afternoon, so here we are a little after midnight. So it's been in service for 9 hours and it still has the right time. So it's running smooth, and it's back to normal, and who knows, maybe it'll give me another 50 years of service. Well, I've had it for 40 years, but it was probably 10 years old when I got it. So anyways, they don't make them like this anymore, and that's why I like this little clock for my garage. This thing is only about 7 inches square, and as you can see, I don't have a lot of space. up here, and I don't want to buy a 14-inch diameter AC powered clock, even though you can still get them. I don't need a clock that large here. This is only about 7.5 feet off the floor, and it's not in a large building, and you're never going to get that far away from it that you can't read it, and it needs to be large to be read from a distance. This is not a commercial or an industrial type of application, and so this is just the right little clock for my garage because it's AC powered, and I don't have to worry about it running down in the cold weather. It can get cold out here, and it always runs. And so, yeah, you can't get them like this anymore. So there you go. Back in service, back to normal, repaired. My favorite little garage clock. Thanks a lot.